Welcome, ladies and gentlefolk, it's me, DRBC 007, bringing you a special DRBC News, where I delve right into the nitty-gritty, chunky, funky bits of E3 2018, which, if I'm completely honest, absolutely slapped me silly in all of the right ways. I am left a bit speechless. So often, we as gamers love to moan about the studios, the games they produce, developers and publishers. As human beings, we like to bitch and lament. In truth, perhaps it's more satisfying. But really, this year, 2018, I have very few complaints about E3. I was pleasantly surprised, awestruck and teased. I was left bemused, befuddled, and at times totally amazed. And more excited than the time Jemima Blasney, the loosey-goosey Greek girl from college, led me round the back of the bike sheds and took me to heaven and back twice in 15 fabulous minutes. Oh, Jemima. In all seriousness, E3 this year was packed full of treats for the eyes and the ears, and it has never been a better time to be a gamer. Which brings me on to one of my very few negatives. There were so many games that I absolutely loved. I simply cannot cover them all. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Yeah. Truth be told, I wasn't expecting a great deal from Microsoft and Xbox, but credit where it is due, they smashed it. With old favourites making a return, a few surprises, new studios brought under their ever-burgeoning belt, Gears 5, Halo Infinity, and a classy and exciting and well-executed show. After that, I was quite happily tickled by Bethesda. I, as with Microsoft before it, was not expecting to be that impressed. However, I was wrong. I knew what we were in for. With Fallout 76, possibly Elder Scrolls, it had been heavily rumoured, but Starfield for the next-gen consoles being revealed, and Rage 2, which by the way looked stunning, and really something that I'm looking forward to. Then hiding behind the demonic smog was Doom Eternal. I loved the last Doom. It was gritty and freaking awesome, and to have more of that is a treat to behold. Of course, I have some reservations about Fallout 76, namely when I saw the character's emote next to a dead beast. This and the multiplayer-focused aspect of the title left me hoping to the heavens that they do not forego the pillars of core gameplay that made and makes Fallout, well, Fallout. If this is to draw in a younger audience and go along the emoting and naff cosmetic fascination that is sweeping the gaming world, I won't be impressed. Plus, it's still running on an aging engine, so I can't expect too much difference from 4, but I will undoubtedly enjoy this title and desperately want to see more. I have to say, Square Enix underwhelmed. They had a measly 30-minute pre-recorded hodgepodge of trailers only slightly lifted by Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which we all knew will be incredible. It was a bit of a disappointment in fairness, but in the grand scheme of things, had some gems like Kingdom Hearts 3. Again, that was something that we knew and know will be great. So it was a bit of, well, crap. Next up was Ubisoft, and my second favourite showcase. A lot of criticism is heaped on Ubisoft, and often for good reason, but genuinely, they are one of my favourite publishers at the moment, and have been for quite some time. They have a fantastic set of franchises, and they showed them off with aplomb. Namely, the incredible trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. my melons were milking. Often dubbed a space opera, it was absolutely gorgeous, full of weird and wonderful characters, and showed Ubisoft at their very beautiful best. An open-world action RPG adventure, Beyond Good and Evil 2 takes place at the end of the 24th century. It is actually a prequel to the first installment, and a clip shown during Ubisoft's press conference revealed Jade as the antagonist. This is also something incredibly cool to note. The company also introduced the Space Monkey program, a partnership with Hit Record to integrate community-made music and visual assets into the upcoming game, starting from now. That is simply awesome, and you cannot undersell this. It could open the creative door to a world of insanely talented musicians and artists that never had the opportunity. It's seriously amazing. It's awesome. There was quite a push for Honor, but for me, although I loved the game to start, it wasn't something that interested me. Similarly, Trials and Starlink. Other massive hitters were of course Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Going to Greece has never felt so great. This looked gorgeous and reminded me of Black Flag, sailing through stunning blue and turquoise waters and landing on beaches and pontoons. There were references to 300, and the title seems to be going towards a more RPG-focused game, with decisions and dialogue that can affect the outcome of missions and ultimately the story. You can also choose Cassandra, a woman, or Alexios, a man. And it appears as though you may be imbued with the powers of gods. It looks great, and I cannot wait to find out more. Another beautiful bout of seafaring fancies took the shape of Skull and Bones, a rip-roaring pirating adventure upon the coral-littered coves of the Caribbean. It's a shared world where every player encounter matters, whether you team up to take on the nearby Portuguese frigate or turn against each other after confiscating the aforementioned frigate's loot. Oh, me hearties, oh yes! At this point, I have to mention one of the titles I'm most excited for, and that is The Division 2. The story takes place 7 months after the Black Plague appeared on physical dollar bills that fateful Black Friday, and has now basically wiped out most of North America. You find yourself in Washington DC, which is a 1-to-1 replica, which is just awesome. The graphics look great as usual, and the audio is wonderful and crisp. I did find the players talking during the gameplay reveal to be ever so cringy, but hey, they can't all be awesome and hilarious like me. Yes. I said you can't all be awesome and hilarious like me. The gunplay looked great, and the bullet sponge bosses apparently are a thing of the past, as new game mechanics, end-game content, player skills and a whole lot more have been overhauled and improved. I absolutely loved the original Division title, even with its many flaws at launch, but the great thing about the game was the continued support, implemented changes, extra content, and a company that listened to its player base, was open to suggestions and tried to fix the problems and make their game as good as it could be. This looks to be following on from that, and I simply cannot wait. Now, before I talk about my highlights, and what really left me hard as iron and salivating like a teen who just stumbled upon his sister's wonderfully gifted best friend stepping forth from a steaming shower in nothing more than her glorious birthday suit, I must address the elephant in the room. EA. Oh, EA. Oh, why EA? Apart from my adoration for Battlefield V, 5V, 5e, V5, whatever you want to call it, because people keep saying I'm saying it wrong, but they're just fools because they don't realise, and from what I've seen, it does look fantastic. The rest of EA Play sucked. I mean, it ranged from gunning corporate creeps lying through blazing white perfect teeth, to insanely awkward, horrible to watch train wreck hosts. Like, what the actual fuckity was this? I have never felt so uncomfortable in my entire life. It was just terrible. I mean awful. It was just disgusting. Ugh. For some weird reason, Battlefield V was left to one side. The people invited to EA Play had a whale of a time, but for us outsiders, we had to suffer through more FIFA crapola, Madden marmalade, and a 20-minute Command & Conquer Rivals show of disrespectful stool so foul and bastardized that no one could ever love it. Command & Conquer was one of my favourite games while growing up. The series is loved by millions still, and for someone to walk on stage and instead of wowing us with a fantastic iteration, maybe a new RTS, or even a first-person shooter in its universe, they tried desperately to say how much we as a community needed a fucking mobile game version with a terribly boring objective. That is a cash cow like I have never seen before. Mooing, hoping to loop in young gamers to a much-loved franchise, and to dedicate so much time on such a pathetic game, in my opinion, shows EA's true colours. They do not clearly care about gamers, they care about money, because out of 2 hours, they spent almost a quarter of their show on a paltry, pathetic mobile game, and less than 2 minutes on Battlefield 5 actual gameplay, choosing to show screenshots, artwork and snippets that we already saw during the reveal. They can scream from the rooftops that gamers are at the core. They can take away CD transactions and try to pull the wool over our eyes by giving us Battlefield 5 without premium pass or loot boxes, but Rivals was the wolf in sheep's clothing. The only saving grace for me was Anthem. I wasn't expecting it to be great. In fact, with all the rumours about its possible collapse, I wasn't sure we'd get anything, but it did look pretty fantastic and really got me interested. I'm not entirely sure how it will play and what it will be like in the long run, but I'm eager to see more. Before I move on to my best of E3, I have to mention Dying Light 2. If you don't know the franchise, go out and buy a thick leather belt to self-flagellate because Papa DRB is very disappointed with you. Dying Light was an absolute masterpiece, and Dying Light 2 was quite possibly the best game showed during E3. Possibly. The gameplay reveal was insane. The graphics, parkour, combat and freedom shown was amazing, and the depth of choice and the consequences that came after them showcased were just next level. Set 15 years after the original, the world has taken on a new and rather expectedly more brutal path, with different factions vying for control. Water is a key resource. In the trailer, we were shown how making one particular decision and choosing one dialogue path could drastically alter the gameplay and story, and the freedom that brings is, well, pretty liberating. We have been promised a lot more, and it should release in 2019, but for now, that's all we get. However, what we did get was incredible. I implore you to watch the whole thing at the end of this video because you will not be disappointed. And finally, we have Sony. There simply aren't enough superlatives to do justice to Sony. They told us from the get-go that there wouldn't be any surprises. Instead, they would focus on 4 key titles. And although it was often bizarre, the showcase was incredible and demonstrated why Sony is head, shoulders, chest, waist and knees above the competition. They have set the standard so high that even with other incredible games out there, Sony is the undisputed champion of gaming. Number 1. SpiderMan. Wow! The fluidity, the graphics, the open world, the story, the sound, everything shown in the gameplay reveal trailer was just awesome. I have never bought a Spider-Man game, but this is an absolute must. It's simply stunning, and everyone that laid their hands on the game said the same. With a more seasoned Spider-Man at the helm, we have some incredible abilities, movements and cheeky dialogue, a host of villains to fight and what looks to be action-packed set pieces. If you're a fan of Spider-Man or any action comic book films or games, this surely undoubtedly has to be on your list. Next up was the mind-boggling, inexplicable, totally bizarre, insanely confusing, utterly bewildering and desolately dangerous Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's upcoming, I don't even know what to call it, looks gorgeous, terrifying and ultimately totally mysterious. Norman Reedus' main character Sam seems to be more of a post-apocalyptic courier than an Action Man protagonist, but honestly, the awesome gameplay reveal thing that they showed that was, I'm not sure what it was, gave absolutely no answers, only proffered new questions, and probably made me even more confused than I am now. Well, not quite, I'm more confused now. Having said all of that, I am more eager than ever to understand what in God's holy name is going on. We have insanely active and alive babies in glowing orange pods carried around, we have invisible demons that affect the world around them, shadowy figures that eat everything, an obsession with carrying large boxes over terrifying terrain, a landscape completely devoid of all life, almost alien looking, clicking light sensors, a new woman, and pulling off toenails. It screams uncomfortable, and I doubt any part of this game will ever let the player feel completely comfortable or safe. I will say this, piqued my interest in this title Sony and Kojima have, and I, like many others, will have to wait for countless questions to be answered, but what we saw was awesome and weird in equal measure. The Ghosts of Tsushima is a title I honestly knew nothing about before E3. It had slipped entirely under my radar, but with its Witcher-esque beauty and dark gritty nature, and its samurai war-torn feudal Japan setting had my buttocks buzzing. It was absolutely beautiful, achingly so. From the red blowing leaves to the ultra-brutal fountains of blood and swordplay. The very minimal HUD made you feel like you were watching a film rather than playing a game, and I hope that this is how it will be when the game launches. I found out afterwards that the whole segment of gameplay was actually a side quest, which is astounding. The level of emotion and the weight of story at that point made it feel like a fully fledged story mission, rather than something that you can walk straight by. I was bowled over by the glorious gameplay trailer and cannot wait to pull my katana out of some tribal thug's face in the near future. You must watch the entire trailer, it was sublime. And lastly, The Last of Us 2. This, as I expected, stole the show and the entire E3 experience. Starting off the Sony show with Gustavo Santaolalla playing the banjo, I knew I was in for a treat, and it did not disappoint. I know people were aghast from the lesbian kiss, thinking that it was, sort of PC rubbish, but if anyone actually played the DLC from the original, you would already know that Ellie actually prefers the ladies. What was sad is that she's sort of turned out pretty ugly, to be honest. She was cute before, but now she's rather brutish. However, that aside, the gameplay was just award-winning. Again, the fluid motion, the glorious visuals, the gameplay was second to none. The way Ellie sneaked, ran, slipped, the way arrows got stuck in enemies, and the way Ellie had to pull an arrow from her arm before she could heal. The way that enemies hit and destroyed the environment. The way Ellie landed the final blows in incredible, brutal and terrifying ways, with such gory detail and gritty realism, was a grim but astounding show of technical prowess. The Last of Us was a feat of literal wonder, and from what we have seen, it will undoubtedly achieve new peaks of success and acclaim with The Last of Us 2. This is why Sony stands so far above the rest. It is a fantastic achievement, and I, above all before it, cannot wait to get my hands on the game and continue the story. I would say that Joel's omission leaves some question marks, but I was so swept away with what I was watching I didn't really think about it. Maybe he's just chilling back at base camp and letting the young guns do the heavy lifting. Again, please go and watch the entire gameplay reveal. Whether you're invested in the game or PlayStation, it is a thing of vicious beauty and a gaming marvel to behold. Well, that's about it. I don't really know what else to say. I rambled on for quite some time, and I'm sorry if I've left out games that you think deserved a space on this video. I just want you to tell me what you think. What was your highlight of the week? What was your worst point? What games are you really looking forward to? Do you agree with me? I know my gushing about Sony was a little over the top, but I truly believe that they set a bar that nobody comes close to. Their in-house studios are second to none. They're just truly the best in the world, and The Last of Us 2 just blew me away. There was so much to talk about at E3. There were so many games to cover that I probably left a few off that I probably shouldn't have. But as I said, please do tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you liked this video or any of my content, or if you just liked what you saw, please slap a like on it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And guys, please can you share this video either on Twitter, on Facebook, on any of your social media. Let other people know about the channel, and of course E3 and what games they might be interested in, because I'm really eager to see what people thought about this E3, because I thought, despite a very small amount of little bits that sort of weren't as good, that this was truly awesome. For more gaming news, entertainment, gossip, and of course handsome and heart-tugging dollops of dashing D, be sure to subscribe with notifications turned on. I've been DRBC 007, you've been you, thanks for watching, and remember, the Dangerously Raunchy Broadcasting Corporation is here for you. You stay saucy, world. E3 was awesome. Oh.